I watched this movie years ago called Enough by Jennifer Lopez. And she was being abused by her husband. She wanted to get away from him. And when she tried to leave him, escape him, he had cut off all her resources. I mean, she didn't have access to money. He canceled her credit cards and things. He made it seem like he made it so she wouldn't have any resources of her own to escape. And she tried to get the help of police officers, law enforcement, and they were all on his side. It's like she had no one on her own. She basically had no one. Because see, when a perpetrator, when they abuse someone, the first thing they want to do is they want to maintain power and control over that person. And so what they'll do is they'll cut off that person's resources. That person cannot be independent. They'll make that person dependent and subservient, where that person does not have access to things that would allow them to escape or allow them to have freedom. They want to control and dominate them. And so they'll usually cut off their resources. They'll cut off their financial resources, or they'll control the financial money. They'll control their resources so they cannot have money on their own. They cannot have power. They have to depend on them for this stuff. And they'll isolate them from relatives or friends, family. A lot of times they wouldn't want them to have a job. They'll keep them at home so they won't have access to coworkers, so they want to keep them in their sights. They'll basically beat them down mentally and psychologically, make them have low self-esteem so they can feel that they won't be able to obtain anyone else, or no one else will want them. Their whole idea is to control this person psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and to abuse them and cut them off. And a lot of times this person will try to seek help from other outside sources if they can even obtain any type of access with the outside world. But they'll be made to look like the crazy person. This person is so adept in their abuse and so manipulative that they can get to the point when they can manipulate the situation, and oftentimes the victim is seen like the person who is the problem. And people will not believe them, people will not help them. I'm telling you all about this because I want to bring to your attention, I've been abused psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically by someone who has controlled me for years. And I lost my children as a result of this. A lot of you might not believe any of this, but I've made many videos on this channel. Many videos, and this is still going on. The Lord let me know this person, they're still holding on to me. And this all started, like I told you, when I moved to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I got a job working for a man. I worked for a man, a boss of mine, who wanted to marry me. He wanted to marry me, but the thing is, he sexually violated me. He used sorcery and witchcraft, and a lot of people have believed him. They have been made to paint this picture and portray me as an unhinged person, mentally unhinged, psychologically and emotionally unhinged and unstable. And see, this man is very powerful. He has cut off all my resources. Answer this question. I'm going to ask this question. What does a victim do? What does an abuser do to their victim? They cut off their resources. I have not been able to have a job. Ask this question: why they don't want me to work? Why they blacklisted me? I haven't had a full-time job. I've not even been able to hold a full-time job, not even for a year in the last 15 years. I've had jobs, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 jobs here and there, but each time I get a job, I'm attacked. I'm attacked relentlessly. And I have not been able to keep the jobs. All types of demonic activity will occur when I'm using my vehicle. My vehicles, all my resources have been cut off completely. I've lost all the vehicles I've had. All the vehicles I've had have been destroyed. They're broken down just out of nowhere. And the Lord let me know, see, this person is very powerful. And the thing with this person, they're the same as the regular narcissistic abuser that you hear about, but the difference with this person is they're very highly adept in sorcery and magic and witchcraft. So they can control and manipulate the situation through sorcery and witchcraft. And I've been making numerous videos on this channel. I have numerous playlists, and I've recently revealed and exposed of how people have been joining themselves to my soul, using me and manipulating and controlling and influencing my behaviors and my emotions. And a lot of these people they're acquainted with him, they're affiliated with him. And see, this is coming out now because, see, God has been judging many people who've been judged because this person has basically been manipulating things around them. They're very, very powerful. Not just powerful when it comes to sorcery, powerful in Satan's kingdom, but they hold a high status. As I talked about in another video, I talked about Freemasons. If you look at my video here and go on my playlist, when I talked about it, this person is a Freemason. And as you know, with Freemasons, there's an affiliation where I don't know too much about Freemasons, but what the Lord was showing me is they make pacts and oaths, and they're all a part of this affiliation where they pretty much, it's a brotherhood or sister, whatever they have, and they're defend each other. They're going to support each other. And so what I'm up against is someone who's very powerful, who has lots of people who are working on his side. Just as you think about the movie With Enough, with Jennifer Lopez, when she tried to reach other people to help, they were all on the side of the person who was abusing her. She could not escape him, and she ended up having to fight for herself. But see, my children were taken out of the house as a result of this because I told them that I was violated sexually by a man who was using sorcery, that I was on the job, I was being violated. My children were taken out of the home. They painted a picture that I was crazy, I was mentally ill, and they took my children. But they're still holding on to us. My children were released after a lot of prayer and back and forth spiritual warfare. God released my children. And many people have gotten in trouble and been exposed as a result of this, but they're still holding on to us. I have not been able to get therapy for my children anywhere outside of these people. They want to hold on to us. And they wanted me to go through Cuyahoga County Board of MRDD to get therapy for my daughter. But this woman by the name of Starla, who they assigned as a case manager, who was supposed to be setting up this therapy, she was in close affiliation with my previous caseworker, Becky Sawyers, and we have no connection anymore to Children and Family Services. We have no connection to the juvenile courts because my daughter was emancipated, as I said, and my son, he was returned back to me and put in my full custody. But they have been keeping tabs on us still. They have been controlling the narrative where we cannot get access to other services outside of them. I've tried to talk to several counselors, private counselors that are outside of anything dealing with Cuyahoga County, anything dealing with the government. And they won't call us back. They'll set up an appointment. It just won't go through. There's always this blockage. And so just the other day, because my daughter told me she didn't feel comfortable about speaking with this Starla person because she felt, again, I talked about this in another video, because they're closely affiliated with, again, all this is through Cuyahoga County. So just the other day, on Friday, I'm going to pull up this email. I got an email from Starla, again, reaching out, asking how my daughter's doing. And so I never responded to the email because my daughter does not feel comfortable. She did not want to reach out to her. She wanted my daughter to reach out to her. I talked to my daughter about it. She did not want to talk to her. And so around that same time, I got a call from Applewood Centers so that my son can have a therapy session with one of the people from Applewood Centers. As you remember, everything that's been done. We haven't spoken to them in a while. And so they called out of nowhere. This is around the same time. Starla called from Cuyahoga County. Starla emailed me from Cuyahoga County Board of MRDD, and Applewood Centers called me on the phone. And so the Lord was showing me that they're still holding on. They're trying to control what's going on to make sure, as you know, with a victim, when a person's a victim and someone's been victimizing them, they want to keep close tabs on them. They want to make sure they don't get out speaking to anybody else. They want to make sure that they're monitoring them. They're scrutinizing them to make sure, they keep them under close surveillance. And so I've been trying to break away from them and get counseling, like I said, through other outside agencies, but for some reason it won't ever go through. Whenever we make an appointment, for some reason something happens, they have to cancel, they get sick, same old stuff. And so they both reached out to us around the same time. And I did not answer. I set up the appointment with Applewood Centers with a woman named Anastasia Driscoll. And I had an uneasy feeling about it, so I didn't keep that appointment. So just the other day, right after Starla emailed me, my daughter started saying she wanted to post a video on YouTube. And she doesn't post videos hardly ever. She said she didn't even want to do it anymore because no one watches her videos. And so all of a sudden, my daughter posted a video last night. She put this video.
So YouTube, is your girl Mac 2015, and I'm back. Well, yeah, this is my first video and I put on this channel. So today I'm going to show you some pictures of me when I was little than now. So you ready, guys? You ready? All right, let's go. This is me when I was a baby. I was like a newborn baby. Look how mad I was. I look angry, bruh. I'm not, no cap. This is really me. I'm not lying.
That's when it came down on me. The same people who have been attaching themselves to me, controlling my soul, jumping in and out of me, doing things. As you can see the videos I posted up here where I'm mirroring and doing the same things other people are doing. They have been attaching themselves to my daughter's soul. They're trying to keep close tabs. They want to know what's going on with us because they're afraid. They're afraid we're going to get to talking and we're going to get to exposing things. And so my daughter posted a video on YouTube. And it's nothing wrong, but the fact is my daughter didn't want to post a video. They're manipulating her and controlling her to post these videos so they can keep tabs on us to see what's going on. Because they both reached out and the Lord let me know they're on pins and needles because, see, they were all involved in the cover-up of what this man has done to me and how he's been abused, how he has abused his family, how he set up all these things. And again, when a narcissist does not get their way, they want to control their victim. When they don't get their way, they'll do everything in their life, do everything in their power to destroy their lives. And that's what this man has done. See, he wanted to marry me. He wanted to marry me, but God was not allowing it because, see, God wanted him to be saved. He did not want an unequally yoked union. And this man wanted me to come over to Satan's kingdom, and I would not do it. He cannot get his way. So he did everything in his power to make my life a living hell. He caused my children to be taken out of the home. As you said, if you saw all these things happen, these are all spiritual things. My children were getting ill. My daughter started having seizures out of nowhere. She never had seizures before in her life. At 15 years old, she started having seizures out of nowhere. And these seizures would become proliferating whenever I would go to work because he did not want me working on a job. He did not want any other man around me. He wanted to keep me isolated. He did not want me to have money of my own. Because again, when a man is abusing someone, when a person is abusing someone, they want to cut off all their resources and access to their own freedom. So I've been allowed to sit in a bondage on public housing for many years. And my life turned upside down when this man came in my life. That's when the Lord showed me, I realized when this man had been following me around, after I made my book, written my book, he had been following me around spiritually. Satan assigned him to make my life, pretty much to destroy my life and to get me to join. The whole thing was to get me initiated to Illuminati or Freemasons and to their covenant, whatever it is. I worked for his company. They wanted me to get involved with him. They gave me gifts. They gave me a car, which the Lord showed me that was their initiation, which I didn't know. The Lord told me not to take the vehicle. And I was disobedient. I accepted the car. And so that was where they felt they had rights to me. This is the thing. When you're taking gifts from people, a lot of times you don't know the motives behind it. This is why we need to pray and use discernment before taking anything. At that time, I didn't have a vehicle. I needed a car to get back and forth to work. And when they gave me this opportunity, I'm like, oh, wow, they're giving me a car. They're blessing me with a car. Lord, why can't I take this car? And so the Lord was like, no. In my spirit, I knew I wasn't supposed to take that car, but I wanted that car. So I took the vehicle. And my life was a living hell. My life was a living hell. I've gone through hell. My children were sick back and forth. My son was getting into all the type of legal trouble that started with him. It started around that time. As a result, my children have suffered. My children suffered the most out of this because they were innocent children. My son's life was destroyed. He could not finish school. He ended up having a case. He ended up being taken out of his home. They were both taken out of their home, but my son got into legal trouble. That's when his legal trouble started. It first started when we were in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And ever since then, the Lord was letting me know that the man was doing things. He was attaching himself to my children's souls, doing things to control them and getting my children in trouble. When you saw all these different things that happened, my son always caught with a knife. It was all these things that conveniently happened. And so as a result, my son was labeled as someone who was troubled and problematic, even though he was a good child. Everybody would say he was a good child. He's been attacked all over throughout school. And so I'm talking about this because, see, this man has held on control of me and my children's lives. And if I'm all over the place, it's because they're struggling and fighting with me. They don't want me to get this message out here. But this message is going to get out here because, see, this man is hidden in the background for the longest. And he's let the small fish. As you know, there's always somebody in the background controlling it with the higher powers and authority. And so if you think about it, whenever they have a plea deal, whenever there's a lot of people who got caught at the same time, they usually set a plea deal or get this type of plea bargain going with those who are just basically manipulated, who didn't do as much crime. They played a part in it. They contributed to the crime. But if they will testify against that person or give them up and admit to it and confess, they usually get off a little lighter with a lighter sentence or maybe probation or something so that they can give up this big fish, this big shark who was controlling everything. And so that's what we're coming at now because, see, this man has made my life a living hell. We have sat in a bondage. I've sat inside this house. I don't have a vehicle. I don't have access to transportation. I don't have any money. I can't work. I can't have jobs. We barely have enough money to support ourselves. This has been going on for years. And I sit in this house every day. My children are suffering. My son cannot go to school at all because we were trying to get him in school. No one wants to take him in any type of school. I'm trying my hardest to get him in school. He has not been able to go to school. We tried to get away. We tried to flee. When God told me to go to Florida, they blocked that. He showed me they blocked that, had us sleeping outside on the ground. As you remember, we were sleeping outside on the ground. And so this man has basically been controlling and narrating everything that's happening behind the scenes. He's putting everybody else up to the forefront. As you can see, the woman I talked about who has been controlling a lot of it, he's controlling her as well. She knows him. I've revealed all that in other videos on playlists. If you want to go back to the playlist, but a lot of that stuff won't be here. A lot of these people, they're all working with him and he's controlling it. He's having them. He's the one who had them take my children out of the home. As I showed you when I talked to them and I told the woman, she broke down and cried when she took my kids. All these people are following his orders, but he's sitting in the background pretending that he's just this innocent person while everybody's taking a downfall for him. God is getting ready to judge. He's already judging. You see all these accidents and things that are happening all over Ohio, Pennsylvania, and all over. He's judging the wicked. And see, when you're ready, when he gives you an opportunity to take a plea bargain, meaning he knows that you were controlled and you were manipulated into doing this and you weren't the main one who carried out and orchestrated the crimes. There's someone who's behind you calling the shots. When you do what he tells you to do and give up that person, he'll give you a bit of a plea deal. He'll go a little bit lenient on you, just as in a regular court of law. They go after the main ones, the mastermind behind the crimes. And so that's what God is doing now. Are you willing? Because see, he's still judging. People are losing their lives every day. People are losing their lives for the sorceries and things they've committed. I have been assaulted. Me and my children have suffered, innocent children. I have put up videos on here where everywhere I go, I've been nearly ran down off the road. He's had these people come up against me. I've been followed and stalked on the road. I have been kept without jobs. I've been attacked on jobs. My children have been assaulted. I've been assaulted spiritually, in the spiritual realm. I've been assaulted. I can go to bed at night and wake up, my feet being cut into. This man has put me on evil altars and used all types of sorcery to torment me. He has put fat on my body. They have had other people transfer their burdens upon me on purpose because he did not want me to attract another man. He wanted to keep me in a bondage where I could not get anyone else. He's done all these things. My kids, like I said, cannot go to school. My son, I tried to enroll him in school, and for a whole month, they were setting up, trying to figure out where to put him. Because no one wants him. And I go to one school, they said, well, he can't go to a traditional school because of the incident that happened when, they put out the spell work and they were controlling his mind and had him pick up a razor, all the stuff he's suffering for it. And he sits here alone. He sits here alone every day. He doesn't say anything because my son is the type of person who does not complain. He will not complain about the situation, even though I know he's hurting. He's hurting because he's stuck here isolated in a house every day. He can't be around peers his age. He can't be around children. His whole life was taken from him. He lost all of his school years. For years, we were targeted by these sorcerers and witches and coven members who are affiliated with this man. And he sits here every day isolated. I mean, he has me and his sister here, but he wants to be around peers his age. He wants to go to school. He wants to get his education. And so we came to the agreement that he would just get his GED since he's so far behind because they ruined his education when they took him out of this house for over 3 years. He was out of this house, could not get the right appropriate credits. His IEP was not continued when he was at all these different group homes they were transferring him to, and they destroyed his education. So he's behind, and they don't have the adequate resource. Well, I don't know. They don't want him at the schools. They don't have the adequate resource. They're not a good fit. We're trying hard to get him into private schools. I'm just asking that you all will pray for him because he sits here suffering. We have been in bondage. I can't take him anywhere. Half the time we have no money. We have no transportation. He has pretty much isolated me from my family. They would allow me to use their vehicles now. That they won't come around us. I know that's him controlling everything because, again, he wants to cut me off. When an abuser, think about the abuser. When an abuser wants their victim to be cut off and depend on just them, they will isolate them and keep them cut off. And what this entire agenda is, he wanted me to join their coven, wanted me to join Satan. I'm God's child. I'm not joining anybody's coven. I'm not marrying a Satanist. I'm not going to be unequally yoked. So I'm asking the saints to pray. And those of you who are contributing to this, God's judging everybody. Do you want to lose your children and your spouse behind this? Behind protecting a man who did evil to me, who sought out me and targeted me because he wanted to get his promotion in Satan's kingdom, because he wanted his things. He wanted his riches and his wealth. That's where we're at now. God wants him. God wants him now because he's done many things. The Lord already showed me that he has committed other evil deeds and improprieties that have been covered up. And this man has been behind the scenes. He's very clever, very subtle, like Satan, very subtle. And he'll keep the focus on everybody else, but he'll try to deviate that and deflect that or detract the negative attention from himself and have everyone else to the forefront and present them as the perpetrators. He's very cunning, just like Satan. Satan's a cunning person. This is a high adept sorcerer who's been doing this for years. And he has made my life a living hell. I have been taken out of the home. I've been forced into a mental institution. At one point, my children have been put in mental institutions. We have all been targeted because of this man who came in our lives and made our lives a living hell. Our lives were okay until he came along. I was working. I had a job. I had apartments. I had cars. I was taking care of my children. We had a beautiful life until he came and destroyed it. And he has isolated me and painted me as the person who is the problem. He has made me look as if the perpetrator. Where I've not had any help, no one is allowed to help me. He has cut me off. And see, God is going to be judging all of those who have contributed and who have helped him do this to his anointed servant. He says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. I have been touched. I've had people attach themselves to my soul, attach themselves to my daughter's soul, making videos and cause her to do things she doesn't even act like herself. She has been put in a foster care home where she had gained so much weight. She was obese to the point where she had diabetes. And she was passing out and sick. She couldn't even go to college because then when she came home, they were making her so ill. And so I had to keep posting stuff. That's why God told me to start this channel so I can expose everything. That's when all this started, when these people came in our lives and targeted us and destroyed our lives. Not only that, my daughter, she's been talking about, you want to know how she's doing? She's not doing well either. Because she tells me all the time about how she was molested in foster care, how she was molested by her foster mother, how she could smell the woman's vagina as she's molesting her. That's traumatizing. And that's disgusting that all this stuff was allowed to happen and all this stuff was covered up. My children were destroyed when they were taken out of this home over something that should not have happened because this man was allowed to do what he did to me and my daughter, and it was covered up. Because he was on an agenda, because Satan wanted him to initiate me into his kingdom. I'm God's child and God's going to fight for me. He's going to avenge me and my adversaries. But those of you who have gone along with him, did not speak up or do anything, or you did not apprehend this man when you had the opportunity to and you were supposed to, God's going to be judging you the worst. You're going to have the harshest judgment and punishment. I talked about this before. He says even the captives of the mighty should be taken away and the prey of the terrible should be delivered. He says he will feed those who oppressed us with their own flesh and cause them to be drunken by their own blood with sweet wine, and he will save our children. My children need to be saved. I know there are many children who are sitting around the world, and sometimes I look at God and I'm like, Lord, I'm so oppressed. I'm tired of sitting here every day. This has been turned into a prison. This apartment that I live in has turned into a prison where we're here 24/7 in this house. The only thing we can do is maybe walk outside, go up the street to the library and walk outside, but we're here every day. It's a repetitive, mundane life that we have been pretty much resorted to. They have they've forced us to live this life in a bondage because he wants me cut off from the world. He wants me cut off from society. He wants me to have nothing. He does not want me to prosper. He has blocked everything. He has blocked all my businesses, blocked all my books from selling. He has blocked all these things because he did not want me to have money. They wanted to control the narrative and they wanted to force me into submission. And this is evil. It's wicked. And just as these other women who have been abused, where their perpetrator, their husbands or their boyfriends have abused them, I've been abused by this man. But the difference is that he has an entire network that's joined him in coming up against me. And he's very adept in sorcery and witchcraft. He's very cunning. He does not have to even be in the same location as me or the vicinity as me to do what he wants to hurt me and violate and destroy my life. This has been done to me and my children. And this is how all this started. This is how all this started with Cuyahoga County Children and Family Services. This is how all this started with the Cuyahoga Juvenile Courts. This is how all this has started because of one man. One rebellious man who did not honor his word and his promise and oath to God, who wanted to take me. He knew I was a child of God. I was a daughter who belonged to God, and he violated me. And he mistreated me and abused me. And he wanted to control me. He wanted to manipulate me. And when he could not get his way, he retaliated by lashing out against me and my children. And he destroyed our lives. Now I'm asking you all, because you have the chance right now. See, God's not going to keep allowing this. He says he's going to free his children. He came to set the captives free. I am free. And he's not going to allow anyone to hold me in a bondage. And all those who joined them and holding on to me and my children, all those who covered up these abuses, he's going to judge you.